Hi guys, welcome to week 7 of Mass Comm Teaching Methods. It's Dr. Freeman. I hope you're having a great week. We're in the final home stretch of the semester, and so I know we're all super busy getting things done, trying to complete final projects, and all of that fun stuff that comes at the end. Same goes for teachers too. Lots of grading, lots of preparing final exams and projects, and so forth. So thanks for your continuing patience with that. That being said, I just wanted to go through a few things this week to make sure we're all on the same page, first of all. So, you guys have sent me your syllabi, and I should have sent you some good comments, hopefully, back that you can use to improve by the time the final draft is due at the end of week 8. So be working on that, hopefully adding to those, just getting them a little bit more refined. Overall, I was really pleased with what I saw, some really great ideas. Most of you had already started to develop a schedule. The more detailed, the better in every way, as far as the schedule, the assignments, so on and so forth. The more detailed you can be, the better off you're going to be. Think about it from the mindset of a student. What do they need to know when they're walking into a classroom? And that's what I'm going to be looking for. You can also look at the grading rubric, which is posted on D2L, to look for specifics about how I'm going to be evaluating the syllabi when I do grade for the end of the semester. Along with that, I am still working on getting you guys some feedback for the draft of your teaching philosophy, and we'll have that to you in the next couple of days, just getting you some good feedback so that that's refined by the time that you turn in your final draft as well. So that's in there for you sometime soon. And along with that, this week, as far as our discussion goes, we are talking about the challenges that we face as educators, which I think is a really appropriate subject at the end of the semester. There's something I've noticed in the years that I've been teaching, and it's that in April, around April, I always see that people on faculty and students alike start to just lose their minds a little bit. And it doesn't even happen as much in the fall semester. I think this is really just indicative of being so close to the end of the year, so close to that summer vacation. Everybody's just a little bit overwhelmed, grumpy, and trying to get stuff done. It can be a challenging time in the semester. So I think it's a really timely discussion to have about the challenges that we face as educators. So I asked you guys this week, number one, to talk about what challenges do you face as a mass communication or journalism educator, and how will you deal with those challenges? I think that we all have things that are insecurities, things that we know we need to improve on, and in order to be effective teachers, we need to acknowledge those and address those. They always say that the first step is acknowledging a challenge. And so if I were to answer this question, I would say that my biggest challenge is, number one, as we've talked about, trying to stay ahead of the curve. We work in a profession that is so technologically based, right? We're always having to update our skill set in areas of new platforms, new media, and so on and so forth, new software. And as an educator, that can be intimidating, right? And so it's something that I think, especially when you're teaching young people who often are a little bit more native to that specific type of technology, it can be intimidating because sometimes they just do come in with different knowledge, even more knowledge of certain technologies and platforms than even we do as instructors. And so how do we handle that? Well, I think first and foremost, we acknowledge that we're going to not always know every answer, and that sometimes, often even, we do learn a lot from our students, and that's okay. Going back to kind of Palmer's ideas of giving and taking in a classroom and not making yourself so much the center of the classroom, but making the subject the center of the classroom. I think that if you frame it that way, that you're learning, your students are learning, and the subject is the center of the classroom, it's not you as the instructor, it helps to kind of overcome the insecurity that comes with that. And acknowledging it to your students, saying, you know, I don't know the answers to everything. I will work to help you find them out, but sometimes we're going to learn together. Sometimes you're going to teach me things. Sometimes I think it's really helpful to just call a spade, and they appreciate that in my experience. So that's how I kind of deal with that. Along with that, you know, feeling behind the curve, I'm constantly trying to, when I have time, update my skill set. And that is a challenging endeavor, right? We're all strapped for time and resources. And when you've got 1,000 things on your plate, when do you make time for that? I try to build it in whenever possible to my curriculum. So for example, here in my Mass Comm Teaching Methods class I've talked about, I use this as an opportunity to learn a little bit more about the Camtasia software, about making videos and so forth, and using those opportunities to really learn, right? And so building in those opportunities for yourself and following through is a really big part of that, I think. Also, there are lots of professional organizations that offer workshops and so forth that can be really useful when you're trying to keep your skill set updated and to learn, you know, what you need to know, right? Because you don't know until you know. Secondly, I asked you guys to talk about along with Palmer's chapter this week, the idea of the metaphor. And Palmer talks about putting yourself and your teaching in the form of a metaphor in order to kind of better conceptualize how you function as an educator. And so I've asked you to fill in the blank with this particular sentence. When I am doing my best teaching or mentoring, I am a blank. And then to carry that metaphor through to how it sets you up for success, but also the challenges that come with that metaphor. So if I were to set myself up and to say, when I'm doing my best teaching or mentoring, I am a something, I would say when I'm doing my best teaching or mentoring, I am a performer. And so along with a performer, some of the great things that come along with that is you feel confident, you feel orderly, you feel organized. When I am doing my best teaching and mentoring, I'm orderly, I'm organized, I have the stage, I feel confident, I feel like everything is right on cue, I know my lines. But the liability that comes with that is, number one, when you're a performer, you're performing, right? And so you're not necessarily going to be as authentic, maybe, as you might strive to be. Along with that, performers are often playing to a script. And what happens when you have to go off script, which happens so much in a classroom, right? How do you adapt to that? And so performers, a liability, I think, of that metaphor for me is how do you adapt when things are outside of your control? When things happen that you don't expect? How do you take on the unexpected things that happen in a classroom? And performers sometimes can be challenged with that. You know, there's lots of good and bad that comes with that metaphor, but again, it's about acknowledging the challenges and the strengths that come with envisioning yourself in that kind of position. So that's what I've got for you as far as the discussion goes. I want to end on two pieces of wisdom. Actually, I didn't have a video last week, and so I have some additional wisdom, and they both kind of go hand in hand, and they both speak to challenges of educators. So the first piece of wisdom that I have for you is from Dr. Mark Popesel. He is an assistant professor of Mass Comm at Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville. And Dr. Popesel talks about what to do when you're dealing with challenging students and unprepared students. He says, The last thing that you want to do is to get stressed about one student and take it out on others who are just the normal level of unprepared or immature. It's common for people who are aged 18 to 22, sometimes older, to flake out once in a while. I have had to learn not to apply my own standards for dedication to school to my students who work 30-hour weeks, or who have kids, or who travel back to a hometown 30 miles away every night. So I think Dr. Popesel is talking about maybe meeting students where they're at, trying to understand where they're coming from, and recognizing that your own specific individual level of achievement may not quite match up with theirs. And also trying to remember what you were like or your friends were like at ages 18 to 22, which is the major part of the group of people that we're teaching at the college level at least. Trying to remember the limitations that you have when you're that age and realizing that they're probably going to have different expectations as far as the level of preparedness versus someone maybe who's in their 30s or 40s or beyond that, right? Secondly, I have another piece of wisdom that relates from Dr. Jessica Elton, and she is an associate professor of communication at Eastern Michigan University. She also speaks to challenges of professors, and she says, being a professor is wonderful and rewarding, but it's not always easy and awesome. So true, so true. As a professor, I find I have good days and bad days. It's important not to dwell too long on the bad days, to reflect and learn from them, but then to let them go and to celebrate and cherish the good days, to give yourself credit for doing well because it's possible that nobody else will acknowledge your triumphs. And if possible, find a colleague that you can trust with whom you can share both the good and the bad. It's always nice to have someone who you can vent to or confide in. And I think Dr. Elton speaks to that idea that we've talked about of having a teaching buddy, somebody that you can reach out to, you can check in with, that you can confide in, that you can talk to and bounce ideas off, who will speak to you frankly about the things that you are facing as an instructor, and to hopefully give you ideas and to pat you on the back when you need it, and to hopefully light a fire when you need it too, right? Someone who will be candid with you, who you trust. And when you're on a faculty, sometimes it takes a while to find that person who you can trust, right? And a faculty is a political atmosphere just like any other job anywhere else, right? It's about finding the right person who can meet that need and to help you to navigate the waters of being a good educator and a good faculty member. But I think she also speaks to this great idea of celebrating your own victories and realizing that a lot of times as an educator, right, as Palmer talks about, we often go kind of unchecked. And there's not always somebody standing over us saying, good job, right? Great, A+. We're no longer students in the classroom. We're the ones who are up there in the front, and there's not often someone to reward us for our victories. So we have to take that on ourselves to recognize that we're doing a good job, right? To celebrate the little things when a student sends you a nice note, or when you've gotten through a semester that was really challenging and you've merely survived. So it's about rewarding yourself and also not being too hard on yourself as well. And I think that's really good advice here for all of us at the end of the semester. So that's what I've got for you this week. Please let me know if you have other questions or comments. The discussion boards should be open for the remainder of the semester. Hopefully no more D2L glitches, hopefully fingers crossed. Otherwise, I hope you have a wonderful week. I'll be sending your teaching philosophy drafts very soon. I will be getting discussions updated. I think you should have 4 or 5 so far that are graded. And again, if you have questions, feel free to text or email me, and I'll be looking forward to hearing from you. Have a great week.